So what are some of the principles then? I mean, what are some things that we need to know if we, because I'm very interested. So, I mean, because I
Yeah.
want to diversify, I'm very interested in knowing and understanding this kind of stuff. And so what are some of the things, like what type of properties are best for this? Is it a single family home? Is it an apartment building? Is it a duplex? What's the best place that I should look at first?
Yeah. So this is a hard question to answer because all asset classes work and it depends on how you're marketing it and who you're trying to market to. So the low hanging fruit is Airbnb and Furnish Finder. Furnish Finder is a website that markets mostly to travel nurses. And so those types of that type of marketing and those types of clients like the 1 and 2 bedrooms. So that could work really well if you have small multifamily, even if you own apartment buildings, they can work well if you just have a condo. All those things can work great. But there's another type of midterm rental client, and that's insurance claims. So somebody has a fire in their home or a flood or something, and they need to be out of their house while it's getting renovated. Those insurance claims pay more than short-term rentals. They can pay 2 to 3 times market rate, which is incredible. And those people generally want a bigger house. And so you're going to do better with those if you've got a larger home, like a 4 bedroom plus. And so it really just depends. If you're a long-term rental landlord already and you want to convert some of your properties, it's just a matter of, what is the inventory you have, and then using that inventory, marketing to the right client.
And so a lot of people say that there's going to be a correction in the market. It's going to be devastating this year. 2023 is going to wipe everybody out. And, there's a storm that's
Yeah.
coming. And so what do you think?
I think people were
What's your
trying to sell
prediction?
papers.
Okay.
You're right. They're trying to get clicks.
Okay.
But I don't know if it'll be all that. I definitely think the market stood to have a correction. We needed it. That's part of the cycle. It's natural. And so while you're in a recession, this is another reason why I like the midterm space versus the short-term rental space. And the reason is a short-term rental, people are traveling for vacation. And in a recession, less people vacation. They just maybe don't have the disposable income. They feel scared. I'm not sure. But with midterm stays, you're generally marketing to someone who has a need or they're traveling for business. So if they're traveling nurse, they're traveling for a job. So they're going to go do that. If they're an insurance client, they don't have anywhere else to go. They've got to go do that. So that's going to happen whether you're in a recession or not.
And so you don't think that we're going to have a crazy blowout recession that's going to, take a lot of people down this year?
I don't think so. And none of us have a crystal ball. So I think all the people that are predicting, they don't know either. Right.
Right.
But I do think we're going to have a little correction. I think even short-term rentals, if people are loving that strategy, they're not going to go away, but they might just be stagnant for a couple of years. So
And
I think real estate's still important.
yeah, no, I don't think it's going anywhere. I mean, for sure. I mean, obviously, with interest rates being so high, so because this kind of makes it a little bit tricky. Maybe you can explain this to me.
Sure.
Because right now you could buy a 1,500 square foot condo for like $1 million. Do you know what I mean? So I mean, especially when you're talking California. I live in California, so I
Yeah.
mean, down the road, it's $1 million, right? I mean, how do you there's no way you're going to get somebody to pay the kind of rent to take a $1 million mortgage. I don't know. I mean, you tell me. I mean, are people paying that much money in rent today to be able to afford something like that?
In some places they have to, right?
Yeah.
But I generally recommend that if you're in an expensive market and you're just getting your feet wet, that maybe that's not the best place to invest. And there's other places. So I send a lot of people to the Midwest to do this kind of investing, especially when they're just getting started. But do whatever you feel the most comfortable with. It's just that numbers work differently in different markets. And usually you can find a market where the ratio is a lot better. And it just gives you a little more safety in your deal.
And so you have properties in lots of different states because I think you have, I don't know, how many double-digit portfolio now. So, like,
Yeah.
how many properties do you have, and are they in a lot of different states?
Yes. So now knowing what I know, I would buy more in a collected area, because what is great in this midterm space is that you get to be known as somebody who has properties, and that helps place people when they need that. And so if you've got 5 properties in one town, it's a lot better than having them spread out in different states. So I currently own in 4 states, and I have 12 units that I'm renting out. And then my partner has another 5 units, and they're in their own different states. So I would say we're diversified. But now that I'm really focusing on this strategy, I'm selling off some places and being more strategic about where I'm buying.
And because, that becomes a little bit, I don't know, you tell me. I mean, does that become a little bit hard as far as like time management? And I mean, how often do you see these properties? How often do you inspect them? How often do you actually physically touch them?
Yeah, not that often. And that's the cool thing, is that we're in such a digital world now that you just don't need to physically be there. There's not much that you'd have to do on the ground. So I generally go out to meet my properties, what I call it, right when I'm closing. And then I'm involved in the furnishing because I enjoy that part. And it gives me an excuse to go out and see the property. But after that, I generally don't check on them. I don't really need to. We've got cleaners that are on the ground that will let us know when things need to change. We've got a handyman on the ground, but you don't need a large team either to run an operation like this.
And as far as like finances go, I mean, is there kind of a ratio that you use? I mean, if I mean, is there percentages that you use? I mean, a percentage for the rent, percentage for the upkeep of the property, and things like that. Are there numbers?
Yeah, so generally when I'm looking to buy a property like this, I generally want to see a 15% cash on cash return. So what that means is all the money that I'm spending upfront to purchase the property, which could be furnishing, it could be renovating if you decide to do that. And then your down payment, your closing costs, all of that versus what I can make every year. So that's the ratio I want to see. But if you get into insurance contracts, you can make well above that. So it's good to know that there's just some upside, but I like to run my numbers very conservatively to start. So to give you an example, I have a friend in Atlanta in a market that I'm thinking about moving into. He's got a home where his mortgage is $2,400 a month, and he's currently got some clients in there on an insurance contract at $8,000 a month. So, and they're there for 5 months. So that's pretty incredible that you can work something out like that. That's unheard of cash flow.
Yeah, I mean, that's great, great cash flow. I mean, but now, I mean, with that said, I mean, once that 5 months is up, how often are these properties sitting vacant?
So you need to utilize different strategies to fill them, right? So if you're looking for more insurance contracts and it doesn't come up right away, he usually, or I would also do this, is buy it in an area where I can still short-term rent. And so I can fill in some gaps if I end up having them. But otherwise, you can get tenants like from Furnish Finder, like I mentioned before, that are medical tenants, and they are looking for places very, very often. So I think I'm sitting around a 2% vacancy rate on my properties. So it's really low.
Yeah, that's very good. That's very good. I love it. I love it. And hey, look, you've been all over the world, and I mean, 48 countries. I mean, that's quite. I mean, do you have a favorite? Where, I mean,
Yeah, I think so.
what,
I
what
mean, it's
what's
been a
some of the
long
cool
time.
experiences that you've had? What's some of the cool experiences?
Yeah, so it's been a long time since I've been to this particular country. So, maybe it's different these days, but South Africa was something that really struck me. I spent some time in Cape Town, and then outside of Cape Town, they have gorgeous wine country. And so it's just such a different place than what we have in the US. You've got such a different mix of cultures there. Um, Languages, they have like 13 national languages. There's a lot of jazz and really interesting music, and it's by the sea, there's surf. It's a really beautiful place. So that's one of my favorites, but I need to get back there and double check that I still love it.
Thank you for watching our short clips on Alonzo Academy. If you'd like to watch the next short clip, click here. If you'd like to watch the entire podcast, click here.